Hi, this is Robert Clinky-Beard with the Commercial Landscaper Podcast. We're going to take 20 minutes to deliver some amazing content from accomplished leaders and business owners to provide you with some value to scale your business and to become a better leader and push yourself out of your comfort zone. We encourage you to like and share with everyone to spread our messages. I'm super excited to announce our new partnership with Weathermatic. For most landscape companies, irrigation is an untapped gold mine for growth and profit, but labor and process problems stand in the way. So Weathermatic has created a partnership to package mobile technology and software with proven business solutions to tackle the perennial irrigation challenges and take your operations to a whole new level. I encourage you to reach out to Weathermatic and learn more. Cheers, everyone. Hi, this is Robert Clinky-Beard with the Commercial Landscaper Podcast. I'm really excited today to be joined by Tom Heaviland. Tom and I met a few weeks ago at the Elevate conference hosted by Aspire, and hit it off. We hadn't seen each other for a while and invited Tom along to the show. So welcome to the show, Tom.
Oh, thank you, Robert. Yeah, great to meet you at the Aspire conference there, Ignite. I got to give a shout out to my friend and colleague, Drew Garcia, who dragged me over to your booth and introduced us and mentioned the podcast. Drew and his brother Greg and their father David with Rancho Mesa Insurance, just a great supporter of our industry and really help the safety and well-being of our employees. Thankful to Drew for the friendship and the introduction here.
Thank you again, Drew. I know you're a big supporter and sponsor for Wilson 360, and we do appreciate that. So, Tom, there's a lot of people, as I mentioned, all around the world. They've no idea who Tom is. So tell us a little bit about you, your background, your history in the industry.
Sure. Thank you, Robert. Yeah, I grew up in the Midwest, northern Michigan, in the Upper Peninsula. So I call myself a Youper. For those that don't know what that is, that stands for the UP, Upper Peninsula. So we're known as Youpers, but that's where I grew up. Went to college in Minnesota, a small college in northern Minnesota where I played hockey. It's known for its Division I hockey program now. But since I was big on heart and short on talent, I needed to look for something else to do. But I guess my little secret is, I got a degree in business. I didn't have a love of horticulture like some of my colleagues do who go to school for it and study to be, a landscape contractor or landscape architect. I cut a lot of grass when I was a kid. I did do that like a lot of guys that are in the business today. That's how we get started. But I had the opportunity to go west to California. My dad and stepmother and their family had moved to San Diego. And so I went out to visit. This would have been Christmas of 1984. And my dad was talking about this little landscape company that was for sale, a little commercial company, one truck. And we were my brother and my dad and I were playing golf at Torrey Pines, and we started talking about it. I got to think, well, you know what, I'd be interested in this little landscape business. I didn't know anything about landscape, still don't know a whole lot, but that got the ball rolling. And we negotiated a deal with the guy who was selling it, who was a big developer who had a little landscape company to manage and take care of his properties. So we ended up buying this small company in Carlsbad, and March 1st of 1985, we were in business with one little Toyota flatbed truck and a snapper riding mower, which we could actually ride the mower from job to job back in the day because there wasn't a lot of commercial properties. But I think we had about 10 or 12 accounts and all commercial industrial. And that's kind of how I got started in the business. And, again, coming from the Midwest, my dad was in Parks and Recreation his whole career, so had an idea about parks and things like that, but really had to learn it from the ground up. And got my certifications through ALCA at the time and through the CLCA, the California Landscape Contractors Association. So learned the business, went to seminars, went to the national conferences, and really that's where I learned from my peers and networking. I was really fortunate just to have a good network of people that were willing to share information with. a guy that didn't know a whole lot about landscaping. So that's kind of how things got started for me.
No, that's an awesome story, Tom. I mean, I'm part of this. It's called Contrarian Community, and it's probably, I don't know, 800, 1,000 people who are interested are in a W-2 job looking for businesses to buy. And a lot of people come up with the idea about buying landscaping, and I'm obviously the go-to person. So, a story like this helps tremendously. It's just, you don't really know the business, you jumped into it, and then, I think you were sharing with me a few moments ago in November 2019, you had your first exit. Tell us a little bit that.
Yeah, I was in an NDA, non-disclosure agreement with a couple of national companies, and just kind of exploring that. But I have to thank another colleague, you probably know him, Neil Hiremath, who was the CEO of the groundskeeper, had an exit. They were headquartered in Tucson, at the time was BrightView's largest acquisition. Anil and I had been friends for a number of years. He had a place in Carlsbad where I lived, and so we got together, a couple times a year. And after Anil sold, I asked him if he'd be interested in joining our company as a consultant, and just to see how that relationship would go. And I guess it was about maybe 6 months in, he mentioned to me, he said, I'm probably talking myself out of a job here, but have you considered, selling your company? Because now's a great time. I'm not sure how long this window is going to stay open. Well, the window's been open for a long time, as we know, but he said, if I considered BrightView, and I was like, oh gosh, no, I haven't. They're so big, and they're a big player in our market, had a great reputation here in San Diego, and I knew most of their leadership team over the years, whether they were with Brickman previously or with Valley Crest. But he said, well, I'm happy to make a call. And so he did. And it just so happened that Andrew Masterman, the CEO at the time of BrightView, was up in Orange County, and said he'd love to come down and go to dinner. So that happened. I guess that was probably late summer of 2019, probably August. And we hit it off. I was impressed by Andrew and just his approach to the business. And it was, I didn't know what to expect. I thought, I'd never seen a picture of him. I thought maybe he was going to be some buttoned up Wall Street guy with a Brooks Brothers suit, and he was anything but. He was wearing a BrightView polo with khaki pants, and you could tell he was a very, very sharp gentleman, and just real down to earth, but matter of fact. Here's what we're trying to do, Tom. So then the week after that, their VP of Merger and Acquisition, Ed Bates, came out to visit, and we hit it off as well. I ended up working for Ed on his merger and acquisition team after I sold. But we toured some of our properties, looked at the facilities and that type of stuff. And then, next thing I know, we're a week later, I think my son and I are in a room with Ed, and we're arm wrestling about, where we think the value is and what the multiple should be. And all that stuff. We held up in a conference room off campus and hammered out a deal. And Ed stood up and shook my hand and said, "You've got a deal." So
awesome.
That was probably September, due diligence, and, closed November 1st. So pretty quick. BrightView's, they do a fair amount of acquisition. They're really good at it. And I've got to say, Robert, that they treated me very well. Certainly there's some things that they couldn't acquiesce on because they're a publicly traded company, but by and large, if I wanted to see something, I had a really good M&A attorney, which I would encourage anybody who's thinking of, selling your business to make sure you've got a good team around you, and that includes a M&A attorney. And he did well and had a good relationship with BrightView's legal team. So it was, we had our times, but for the most part, at the end of the day, it was a good process for me. I learned a lot, and I think both sides came out a winner.
No, that's awesome. That's a great story. And just to put things in perspective, you bought a smaller company. Sounds like one pickup truck, and then you sold the company. What sort of revenue were you doing when you sold the company?
Yeah, we were at 15 million in revenue. We were all commercial, all maintenance with work order enhancements on top of that. We subbed everything else out, for the most part, trees, spraying, chemical applications. Fortunately, we don't have snow in our market, so I didn't have to worry about that. But yeah, my focus was on commercial maintenance and having a high penetration rate on the enhancements. We were probably, north of 70% pen rate. So, and very profitable. We were on Aspire. We were one of the early adopters. And certainly with that operating software, it allowed us to really, manage our costs and expenses and allowed our managers to really make real-time decisions. So I think that was really helpful in boosting our profitability and just staying focused and not getting distracted, with other streams of revenue. San Diego is a big enough market where
right.
There's plenty of business for everybody here, including the big guys like the BrightViews or the Land Cares or, those larger regionals. But yeah, that was the type of company we had. I had a great team, Robert. Can't say that I can take any of the credit here. I had a great CFO who's currently back and working with me now, Leanne Foles. I had a great COO and Chris Gillespie, who's now president of the Bonds, one of your peer groups in the Wilson Group. My son oversaw business development. We had a terrific marketing woman, Addie Stathados. So, yeah, we really had a great team. And my philosophy has always been, hire the very best, pay them really well, and let them go out and do it. I was the guy at the table that I was afraid if they found out about me, I was in big trouble. So, but yeah,
what's that called? The imposter syndrome.
Right. So, but yeah, I was blessed to have a terrific group of people, made it fun to come to work every day and really executed on our strategy and made it possible for me to eventually have that exit.
Tom, a lot of times people either buy businesses or maybe they start a business with not necessarily the end in mind. Now, when you think back about, your exit in 2019 and what it took to get to that point, any things that you're proud about, any things that you would have done differently for those up and coming business owners that are still somewhat in the weeds?
One of the things I'm most proud about is just, the brand and the reputation and the culture that we built at Heaviland Landscape over the years. Was it perfect? Of course not. We had our share of issues and troubles, but, we won a Torch Award for, from the Better Business Bureau for marketplace ethics. I'd like to think that we did the right thing, even if it cost us. We were, we won awards and all that stuff, and that's nice. But for me, it was, seeing a guy who started out as a gardener, who became a crew leader, who became a production supervisor and beyond, an account manager, watching our team grow. And, education was important. Training was important. We were big on certification. We provided an education allowance to everybody in the company. So, we wanted to see our people grow within the business. Many grew and left and started their own companies, and that's that's part of the deal. So, yeah, I'm proud of the company we built. Some of the things that I look back. For me, my dad and I were partners, equal partners. He died 13 years in suddenly. And then it was like, wow, it was kind of a wake-up call for me, because I was more into the operations of the business and he was more the back office part of it, although he did have some clients where he had a lot more patience than his son. So, but when he died, it forced me to get more onto the business side of things. And that's where my eyes really got open. It was like, oh my gosh, I never realized that I was entrepreneurial, although I had a paper route and cut grass and did all those things as a kid. But until my dad died and forced me into a new role, I really didn't realize how much I enjoyed that part of it versus being in the weeds and the operations, the day to day. So, but for many years, like a lot of companies, it was a lifestyle business. It provided a great income and lifestyle for my family. As an owner, you've got the flexibility and freedom. I had, throughout, the latter part of the career, really good teams in place. So I could take a month and go on an RV trip or go to Europe or whatever that case might be. It really didn't have to worry too much if the wheels were going to come off. So I was fortunate in that respect. And again, that's where I give the accolades to those people that, got me where I am today. The crews and the crew leaders, production people, or, we were fortunate. We had a good bunch. But yeah, it was a lifestyle. It wasn't until, maybe, 5 or 6 years before the exit that I really started to think about as I got closer to 60. Well, my son Christian's in the business, but he didn't want to carry on the family legacy, which was fine with me. He wanted to carve his own path. And I was cool with that. He really helped me through, his efforts in business development to grow the business and improve on profitability and things like that. He's a smart young man. Probably, 5, 6 years out, that's when we really started thinking, okay, it's time to, really get lean and improve the profitability and just be in a position if the opportunity presents it. And really, I wish I would have started to do this earlier on, is to look at what's the value of the company today, and have I moved the needle more north, a year from now. You can measure it quarterly, yearly, however you want to measure it, but get an idea and you're good at being able to do that for your peer groups, or that you can pay for an appraisal, which, costs a lot of money. You can just do it through somebody who's in the industry. But yeah, just really focusing on value and am I continually building value every day? So all my decisions were centered around that. Is this contract going to help me build value if I sign it? Is this hire going to help me build value if I hire this person, this piece of equipment? So really focusing on that, measuring it, and making sure that I was continuing to build that value, day after day, month after month, year after year. So when the time comes, you're in a position where you can say yes, you can say no, and carry on. But at least you're in a position to make that decision.
No, that's a key nugget right there. I mean, what you just mentioned there about people look at their P&L, the people look at their revenue number, but in terms of if they have got an exit in mind, just start looking at what's the value of the company, what's the EBITDA number, and what are the decisions I make around, hopefully increasing that EBITDA, whether it be around buying assets, whether it be around the types of contracts, whether it be around the contract mix or your client mix you have. Those are all key decisions right there. And you said a key word earlier, is just focus. If you're hyper-focused on increasing the value of the business, it doesn't really matter whether you're doing 15, 20 million. If your profitability, your EBITDA number is growing, then that's obviously leading to the path of that nice exit.
Just having that focus. Like I said, we were a big enough market. We had a construction division at one time. We had a great leader of that division. It was a tough decision, but we decided that's not who we are and where we want to be. We don't want to be in competitive bid situations. We don't want 10% retainage, on every job, So we said, let's focus on growing the recurring revenue. Let's focus on increasing our penetration rate. Take that construction resources and let's build our enhancements and really make it a robust division through Aspire. We were forcing a high gross margin on these, and it's non-competitive, and it really worked for us. I mean, we saw our profitability really just shoot up after that decision. It helped really simplify things for us because we only had a few things to worry about or think about. Trees is a great high margin deal. We'd rather sub that and mark it up, control it, for our clients, but not have the chippers and the booms and the trucks and stuff like that go with it. We really focused on that, and I think that that was a turning point for us.
I've got 3 takeaways so far. Having the right people on the bus and, taking care of your people. Second thing is having the right platform or software for you to be able to analyze the data and then make decisions on the data, and then focusing on the right numbers. Yep. What's that number? It's going to increase my value. So huge takeaways there, listeners. A couple minutes here left, Tom, but you mentioned that you're now involved in private equity. How is that different from when you had your exit with BrightView or Valleycrest?
After BrightView acquired us, I worked on their merger and acquisition team for a few years. Great experience again. BrightView treated me very well. And just, I met a lot of great contractors around the country, some new relationships. I learned just a ton of new stuff. And so very fortunate there. And after, I completed my time with BrightView, I got a call from I guess I would call them a boutique private equity firm down here in San Diego. I knew one of the general partners, and he reached out, and they were looking for a CEO for their portco, for their portfolio of companies. They had two companies, and now we're three, so we're growing. But he said, "Yeah, I'm looking. We're looking for a new CEO. Wondered if you're interested." Well, I'm spending a fair amount of my time now in Idaho, so I said, "Well, I'm in Idaho a lot. If that's a problem, probably not your guy. But if it's not, hey, I'd love the opportunity to work with you and your the other partners and see what we can do." And so I started July 1st with this group, Verde Equity Partners, and like I said, they had two companies under their belt. We just closed on a third here September 15th. So hired a great GM who's got a great reputation here in San Diego, Stacy Sternot, former Valley Crest gal that's doing a great job on the operations side. Like I mentioned earlier, I hired our CFO, Leanne Foles, to come out of retirement. So great to have her on the team. But yeah, we've got we're building a team. Like you gotta, before you can really take off from the station, you gotta have the good team around you. So we're continually working on that. We're working on our contract base, kind of refining and tweaking that to the model that we want to go with, which is, again, the commercial recurring revenue with high penetration on the enhancements. The investors, the general partners are a great group of guys. They're fun to work with. They're extremely brilliant, smart group, but give us autonomy to run the operations as we see fit. We certainly run bigger decisions by them. Like we're coming on board with Aspire now. We felt like we needed to have an operating software which can, one, create, I think, value for this business, but also give us the tools we need to move forward in a really solid way. The big difference is I called all the shots when I owned the company, right? Now we have shareholders, we have people that are investors, LPs, limited partners in the fund that we're responsible to, and I feel a strong obligation that that we perform at a high level, and we do what we promise we're going to do. And deliver and go out and execute, so that these folks who entrusted their dollars with this group, that I'm going to see it through for them. So yeah, a little more pressure, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think your key takeaways? I mean, you're obviously now looking at it from a different perspective. You're obviously managing the money from other people, and you're probably exploring opportunities to buy other companies. So you're looking at it through a different lens. What were some of the key things you've, I suppose, quickly learned by being with them?
As you know, through acquisitions, we're buying people and customers, right? Employees and customers. Really, that's what we're buying. And for us, a successful acquisition. If we can look back a year from the day we closed, and you have 100% of the employees on the team, 100% of the customers, high retention, and you've grown that business organically, then that's a successful deal or acquisition for us. So that's what we're looking for, really, is strong teams with a good brand and a good book of business. We're not in the business to try to find companies at a great bargain that we need to fix. We want to find well-run companies. Again, we're not going to overpay, but we're gonna pay fair market value for those companies that we feel might be a good fit for our portco. So really, understanding what's our target company look like, and then realizing that every dollar that you spend, you're going to put a multiple on that. At some point in time, so every expense, you want to be careful how you spend, what your costs and expenses are, because at some point in time, if you can save that dollar and you do have an exit, then you can put a multiple on that dollar. So we're always thinking in terms of how is this going to impact us,
Right.
In the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, whatever that runway looks like. And is it money well spent, or is it something that we can save here because we know it's going to pay a higher dividend somewhere down the line. So really, really taking a hard look at how you spend the money and the impact it can have on future returns. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Tom, really appreciate your time today. You've been super informative, great nuggets for the audience. How if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to try and contact you? Would it be through LinkedIn, or do you have a website? What's the best way for them to connect with you?
Yeah, you can look for me on LinkedIn, Tom Heaviland. Spelling on the last name is Heav, like Victor, ILAND, looks like heavy land. So LinkedIn is a good place to connect. My email, Robert, is tom@juniper, JUNIPER, landscape.com, tom@juniperlandscape.com. So shoot me an email. I've worked with NALP previously, LICM Planet as a trailblazer, doing consulting for companies for, gosh, I don't know how many years now. And I just love, paying it forward, because there's been mentors, the Mike Rorys and the Mike Bogans and the Bob Grovers and the, Marty Grunders that have really, come alongside me and helped my career. And nothing gives me greater satisfaction than to, pay it forward and to see where I can help somebody else come along the way too. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, Tom, appreciate everything you've done for the industry. Glad you've had such an amazing career. And I appreciate your time today. Thank you, Tom.
I look to seeing you again soon, Robert. Thank you for the opportunity here.
Thank you very much, Tom. Hopefully that was pure dead brilliant to you, and you got some great takeaways for your business or your leadership role. This is Robert Clinkybeard, and I'd love to get you and your friends to join us in a future journey. So please subscribe to the various podcast channels or visit thecommerciallandscaper.com or wilson360.com. Big thank you again to our partner Weathermatic, and I really encourage you to reach out to them and see about irrigation solutions or partnership with them. Hopefully you have a pure, dead, brilliant day. Cheers, everyone.